Wagwan my 1-0s. Requested video. I'm gonna try to keep this short and sweet. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Don't have a brother out here moving like I'm on a fucking street corner trying to get me likes up or get me money up. Come on, man. Like, share, subscribe. This is a heavily requested video. I've heard this question so much times and it always confuses me a little bit with the airsoft community, because I'm like, how the hell are you playing a sport and you don't know this basic thing? No judgments, because I respect the person for even being willing to ask me. So big yourself up for being the person that helps hopefully hundreds of other players who come to this video, if not thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. Come on, man, get my channel up there, peeps. But I'm gonna do it short and sweet for you. So stock changing. How the hell you take off one stock, put on the stock, or for those of you who don't want to necessarily change the stock, but just want the ability to remove the stock so you can input a new battery, or even just install the battery, I'm gonna do that for you today. So I'm gonna start with a quick diagram that helps y'all to understand how the stock system works, or the stock and buffer tube system works. So essentially, you have, and you know what? Let me grab you guys a buffer tube, because then everything I'm saying will make more sense. So I've got a few different style stocks. I would love to have a few more, but sales and all these things, so I've ended up getting rid of a lot of stuff recently. So buffer tube system and stock. So for those of you who don't already know, a buffer tube is this bad boy right here. It essentially is the part that sits in between the gun's body and your actual stock. For those of you who are like, what the hell is this guy talking about? A stock is essentially this thing here. They come in different formats. You've probably seen a million and one of them. They're basically the back section of the gun that allows you to shoulder the rifle, as well as oftentimes close away your battery, like hide your battery away. If it's AEG, if it's gas blowback, it essentially just helps you to shoulder the gun, making shots more stable and allow you to look down the gun's barrel with a straight shot down your red dot. And if there is no red dot, your iron sight, and if there's no iron sight, just straight down the barrel, seeing exactly where your BB shoot. So simple things, how it works. Let's start with that. So essentially, when you receive your rifle, you're gonna get something that looks a bit like this at the back of your rifle. So essentially what you're gonna have is the gun body here, your buffer tube, and then your stock. Now essentially how that stock works is, or the stock works is, on your buffer tube there's and I'll show you it so it makes a bit more sense. What you have is circle cutouts. Now every time you click down your stock adjustment tool and you move your stock backwards and forwards, you hear it lock into one of those systems. So I'll just do that again. You didn't hear that one? There we are, that's 1, 2. This stock is probably not the best one to use, so your one will sound a lot better than mine. And then we'll do it again. 2, 1. Do it from top. 2. So that's third position, sorry. Second position. First position. So essentially those little holes is what's allowing you to have less or more space between you and the gun. For those of you who like that close-up thing, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who like that long-ass DMR thing, you know what I'm talking about. But let's get to the good parts. So a lot of you been asking me, I've had probably about 15 people ask me on the channel this year about this. How the hell do you remove these things? So essentially, I'll show you the science of it, because then it will make more sense, because I've done previous videos how to take off a stock, but somehow I don't know whether that wasn't explanatory enough, if that's even a word. But yeah, I'm gonna redo it but in more detail so it makes sense. So essentially you have a pin or a bar of some format that goes through this mid section right here. That's what this and this whole device here is about, this little circular section and this little circular section. For those of you who can't see it on the camera, this little thing running all the way through. So every time you push or pull every time you pull this thing right here, essentially what you're doing is pulling that pin towards you, which is relieving the pin from inside here, so on the other side of it. And I'll take this off quickly just to show you. So it's relieving. So every time I pull this, and I'll even show you, if you look down on the inside, hopefully, where's my flashlight? Flashlight. I'll show you guys how this works. Hopefully y'all can see it. There's a little pin in there. Not pin, almost like a bar right here. Hopefully you can see it if I shine that in there. So essentially, that pin, every time you pull this down, if you notice, I don't know if you can see the movement that's happening. Hopefully you can. So every time I pull that part forwards or towards this direction, whether it's the front or the back end, every time I pull that, it's relieving that bar. Now it's important you understand that, and part of the reason why I showed you these little tube areas here is because that's essentially how the stock works. If that bar is still in one of those holes, it's not going to move. So now that that's explained, let's keep the ball rolling for you guys. So we're going to chuck that back in there. This one's a bit tight, so I should probably use another one that isn't as tight to help you all understand. So do you know what? Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to find another one that isn't as locked in. I feel like this one, because it's not the right stock for the bar, it's making the bar look a bit more harder than it should, because it really isn't that simple. So I found one that's a lot more easier. Okay, so now that you know how that mechanism works, we're going to show you how to remove it. So you can see there's a buffer tube on there. So with most systems, what you're going to have is something that looks exactly like this. It's almost like an L shape. I call it an L shape, or if you want, you can call it an arrow. Yeah, you're going to have like an arrow. Similar to this stock, you can also see it has an arrow style system. Yeah, I'm going to show you a few other guns, well, at least one other gun. If you have a look at this system though, on my actual playable competition rifle, it's not an arrow, but it matches the system, just relieving the arrow. So if you have a look, every time I pull this, hopefully y'all can see that, what happens is that back end goes back in, and that same pin section, like you can see, because I've got a hole at the top where that pin would normally go through, it moves. So if you notice, every time I push that, it moves. And what that does is allow me to relieve and move it up and down. So similar system, but they all work the same. With a system like this, rather than what I'm going to show you, what you would essentially do is there's 2 sections. So there's a clip here on this side, and there's a little lip on that side. You're essentially just pulling both of those down. And like I said, what's going to happen when you're doing that is this back section is going to do that motion right there that you're seeing. And what that's allowing the gun to do is relieve the pressure. And then what's going to happen is you're going to hit the back of that, where that's the wall that the pin is hitting. So it's not allowing me to take the stock off, and now it's locked. I would pull this a bit more harder and then pull. And if you notice, it will relieve. And it's the same thing if you're chucking it back on. I'm literally just going to put it back on. Make sure my wiring's out the way, because we don't want any damage there. So you're going to always check and make sure your wiring is out the way. And then we're going to make sure we've hit that wall. Then we're going to do the same thing. Pull it down, which relieves that bar again. Every time you pull that, you'll notice that this bar moves. So I'm going to pull it one more time, relieve that, and then I'm able to push that forwards. And for those of you who are having any issues with that, please just keep trying, because essentially until that pin goes far enough down, so this pin right here in the middle, until that pin goes far enough down, it will not pass. And I'll show you what it was clashing on a second ago, just quickly. There's a little wall right here that won't allow you, so if it's in that slot, it won't allow the stock to go back. If you can see right here, hopefully that makes sense. So if it's in like that, it won't allow the stock to go across that bar. So by pulling, what you're doing is you're lifting the bar over that, and then you're moving it forwards, which allows it to clear. Now that's a more complex system. For you basic AEG users, and this is no knock to you guys, you're not gonna probably have a stock like that on a stock gun, unless it's a special edition one or something like that. What you're gonna tend to find is something on the cheaper side like this with the arrow, or something like this, which basically allows you to use nunchuck batteries. For those of you who know nunchuck batteries, I feel like these systems are a lot more simpler personally than my system, because it took me a little while to get used to my system. So there's a few options. What you can do, I tend to pull the front bit down, and I tend to do that because I find that it gives you the most power pull off that bar. And I'll use something to show you the tool. If I pull from anywhere else on this V shape, and I'll put that there so it's a bit more clearer. If I pull on, say, this section here, it will still work. I can pull, and I'll show you what I mean. If I pull the back, the stock will relieve. You see, the problem with that is, unless I pull really hard, it won't clear it. So I'll show you what I mean. So I have to pull a bit hard there for it to clear it. But I'll show you what I mean. If I pull, it relieves. And I'll show you one more time, because there's two options. Some people like that way, some people don't. I tend to like to pull from the front like that, because what it does is it gives me the ability to push this back section with the back of my hand, which helps me not have to use as much force. And then it also allows me the pulling power of these two fingers right here. So I'll show you the motion, and then I will go through and explain it one more time. So do you see, the back of my hand is going here, the front two fingers are going there, and I'm pulling forward, which gives me so much leverage. You can see how much leverage that's given me up until right there. So this whole section here is leverage. Now I'll show you what I mean. It will clear it, and that's because I've applied enough force for it to clear that bar section. Yeah, I'll show you again also. For those of you who want an easier job, you can just press it and relieve it. But what's gonna happen is sometimes you're gonna hit that wall, like you see right now. I'm hitting that wall, and it's because there's not enough pressure being applied to the bar right here, to this bar in the middle, to relieve it from hitting that track I showed you earlier. So that's why I said to you, I tend to like to grab from the front like so. Doesn't need to be complex. Just put two fingers here, and your hand, as your hand naturally moves around, it will support this bottom section here, which gives it the extra pressure. And you notice I'll clear that bar with ease. I'll show you one more time, because there's a few options. I know some people might not want to clear the bar, they just might want to move it back, in which case it's a little press and a push, little press and a pull, little press and a push, little press and a pull. Yeah, but if you do want to clear it, I tend to go at the front, support the back, and then it removes. And it's the same thing when putting on. If you want to put it on, similar thing, line it up, make sure it's hitting that wall, and make sure when you're doing that test of it hitting the wall, make sure your batteries are clear, because I've seen a lot of people ram and rip wires doing that. It's very simple, trust me. Don't complexify it more than it needs to be. You literally make sure all your wires are tucked away, chuck that back over, make sure it's hitting that wall. You can hear that wall, and then, like I said, I even do it with my hand that I'm not comfortable. I'm pulling the front, and I'm literally just sliding it. You can either slide from the side of the gun. I tend to like to slide from the side of the stock, because if you slide from the side of the gun, and let's say you got weak gun parts, or it's a very plasticky style gun, you may break something. So always don't do what I just did. I push from this side because there's obviously no gun on that side, so there's nothing for me to damage, plus there's no battery in the system. Whereas on an average day, I'd probably press this down like so, and then you use the back stock to push that way. So I'll do it one more time for you. Front, support that back end, because you can see this time it's my inside fingers that's supporting it, but averagely it tends to be this part of my hand. Pull forwards, back, and it's off. I'll show you with a more harder stock, but similar, a stock that has a similar setup. So again, L shape / the V that I was talking about, the arrow. Chop that in, so wrong way. So you can hear that wall. I'm literally going to pull forwards, support it with the back. This one's a bit harder, but like I said to you earlier, that's because this isn't for this buffer tube. This buffer tube is really tight to this stock. And similar thing, push forwards and backwards when you're trying to say you want the stock longer, shorter. Push forwards and backwards, because you can hear that clipping that time. And then if I'm trying to relieve it, completely remove it, like you saw, support the front, and then you're pushing down on the back. So you're pulling the front, supporting the back, and you'll notice that it should clear it. Obviously this one's a bit more tight, so I've got to put a bit more strength behind it. Knocked my tools over. Well, not my tools, more like my little screw box thing. So yeah, simple like that. And then I'm gonna show you, and you know what, because that one's really tight, let me show you actually on a gun, because that one was really tight. I don't think that was a great example, the one I gave you. So I'll show you on my see-through gun. So have a look, I've got the rifle's up in one part. And if you have a look, very similar system, L shape or the arrow, whatever you want to call it. And all I'm literally doing here is pushing this to move forwards and backwards. It allows the pushing that up, forwards and backwards movement. And if I really wanted to, I could use the back end to do it, but I don't like to teach people to use the back end to do it, because I've seen so much people break their guns trying to do that back end way. So like I said to you, pull from the front, support the back, and you'll notice that bad boy just comes right off. As long as enough pressure is applied, and maybe this is a great one to show you it on. If you have a look on this stock, you can see that line I'm talking about, which is basically a screw running through the system, or some kind of bolts running through the system. Now every time I push this, you can see it relieve itself, it drops down. So all that is essentially doing is doing what I showed you earlier, allowing, if I can bring this up, allowing clearance of that bit right there. Because obviously if it doesn't clear, it's just going to keep knocking on one of these walls here. Either the front end or the back end one. It's just going to keep knocking it. So I'll show you just so y'all can see. And then when putting the stock back on, so you'd obviously connect up all your batteries, whatnot. Make sure your wires are tucked out the way like I have, because the wires are tucked inside the gun or inside the buffer tube. Tuck that back over like so. I'm going to make sure, like I said, it's on that wall. And then like I said, I'm going to pull the front, support the back. And then once I've cleared that, you will notice, do you see, I'm back on. I can't pull that off now. And then I can make adjustments to how short or how long I want that stock. I'm going to show you on one more system, just so that there's no confusion. Show you on my actual competition gun, because it's a completely different system. So I always like people to understand how each of them work. It's the same concept. Bar going through it, and you're literally just pulling down on that hard enough, and then it will hit its wall. And then you want to make sure that you're supporting the back of that, just to make sure it clears that wall. Yeah. And then you'd obviously connect up your batteries. You don't worry about all of this, because I know some people are going to be like, how the hell your gun's wire is so mashed up? This is electric tape I've put over it, just to make sure that my wires are not cut and damaged by things. So if I pull this off, you'll see there's no damage at all. It's something I've done to keep my gun wires safe. And then you'd obviously put your battery in. Make sure that your wires don't be like me and scrunch them up. That's another thing I'm trying to learn this year, look after my wiring a bit better. Not that my wiring looks terrible, but because I've seen some terrible wires, bent, flattened, ripped. I don't even know how some of them guns are running, but yeah, mine ain't too bad. It's just a bit bent up. So again, you'd put the stock back on, make sure you're hitting that wall. You want to apply enough force to the front and then the back, just to clear that wall. And if you notice, the stock is back on. I can't remove it without doing it again. So just a quick little video I wanted to put out for one of my channel subscribers that specifically asked me about that process. I think this was like 2 days ago, a day or two ago, and I was like, I'm gonna shoot you a video, I just need you to wait till weekend because my time is busy. I think I need to open up a Patreon where y'all can ask me anything you want to ask me, and I basically put it on there. So it's like a paid service. You'll pay to get any answer you want about airsoft, as long as I know it, guys, because I don't know everything. So yeah, that's Yardman 9's stock and buffer tube video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If there's anything that you guys missed or would like to know, hit me with ideas for new videos. And like I said at the beginning, like, share and subscribe, man. Support your boy. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by February, so help me to make that possible. Peace and love.
Cheer and all of that. We saying part 20, the finale. Imagine, you know, live sessions is done for me. It's crazy. I remember when we recorded part 1, 2 and 3. Remember when we shot the first couple of videos. It's crazy. God is great, eh? Here but I'm gone, guess we rarely speaking. Big Zubber and brown juice, the beat kicks in. Reminisce about old days, the barrel spin. Now I pour out my pain just to see win-win. Pray for them, the next gens, they sin. Go so hard in this thing and have no next of kin. It's so sad in this life, what we do to win. They just lined up a upper, ain't no shape up thing, survival of the fittest. No one showing pity, reporting from a first hand view. I love my city, 12 loco, be circulating. If you slip then they're escalating. Watch your team close, yeah they're penetrating. More time the ones that phony be hesitating. Forever shaking, you a foe if I ain't mistaken. Stayed so loyal to the cause when my back was breaking. Hand on heart, looked me in my eyes but you was faking. Heart was breaking, I was trying to heal cause I was aching. I tell them chase your dreams, build this music, it's a faith thing. Battles with my anger trying to